Okay, this is going to be sort of easy to see. This is a search we're going to do in English. On the left-hand side, you have the verse we just focused on, all the days of your life. And this is the key phrase that will set up proof that Genesis 5, specifically 5:5, referring to Adam, is talking about from the point of the fall onward, not from the point of his initial creation. As we saw in 3:22, in the Hebrew, this phrase here translated this way. It doesn't, there's an extra layer of meaning in the Hebrew which the English doesn't reflect, and that's right here. Mimenu, out from, more than, apart from. It's a birthing preposition, min. Okay, that you're seeing in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, that's a birthing preposition. It's used an awful lot in Scripture, and every time it is, it's talking about a kind of birthing, a separation, an independence. And in this case, it's an independence of rebellion. And Christ is being very sarcastic here when he says, oh, he's become like one. It's really not like one of us. Ka means just as, even as. It's usually done in pairs. It's a preposition that's done usually in pairs. And echad, as you can see down at the bottom, really more often means same, single, united. It's one of the words that always gets mistranslated and misunderstood in Christendom. When it says God is one, it means God is the same essence. And the Westminster Confession screwed that up totally, but I'm going to cover that in the Trinity videos. The point is that echad, even today, has this connotation of being like kind. Alright? And that's really its first meaning. So when you have the famous Shema, okay, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Elochad, it means God is united, God is unique, God is the same. You know, even today, if you want to say United Nations in Hebrew, you have the first word is echad, the second word rather. Okay, so here we're looking at the same as, because that was the temptation back in 3:5, that you will become as good as God. Alright? See? But God knows that in the day you eat of it, you will be as good as God, knowing good and evil. Alright? So that's what 3:22 is referring to. It's very playful, it's sarcastic. So just the same as good as, but apart from, born from us. So this is a decree that, okay, Adam, you want to be born from us, you want to be apart from us. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. So that's why we see, let me show it. So that's why we see this pronouncement, all the days of your life. It's all the days of your life from this point forward. That's what it's talking about, from this point forward. Now we're going to see that. Here, I got to put down the recorder for a second because I got to show you that. In this program you can do a search. I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to lean over and talk to the recorder. All days life. I'm just going to do it in English, okay? This is the New American Standard Version, but they all translate pretty much the same. You see all those words in yellow and red. All the days of your life. Now, our first passage that we saw, that of course is Genesis 3:14, which we went over. Okay, then we got Genesis 3:17, which is what I'm focusing on. It's all the days of your life from this point forward. Alright, now here's how you know. Because the expression is used that way in all these other verses. Almost all these other verses, okay? Look at this. Deuteronomy 4:9. Alright, maybe the print isn't quite as good as it needs to be, so I'll open it up a little. So you can see in the left-hand corner, if you can't read it in the right-hand corner. Okay? Look at the command. This is the command in Deuteronomy 4:9. Pay attention, obey these things all the days of your life. Now think about that. He's talking to them today. This is the day that they get the law. If they hadn't gotten the law, then it can only be obeyed from this point forward. So it really isn't all the days of your life. It's all the days of your life from the day I'm telling you. Because they didn't get the law when they were still in Egypt. You know, this is Moses talking to them after they've left Egypt. Okay, but they were alive before they left Egypt. So this isn't all the days of their life since birth. This is all the days of their life from the point he's telling them forward. Same thing here, Deuteronomy 6:4. All the days of your life from the point he's telling you. Because when they were in Egypt, again, this is the lead up to the Shema. Okay, when they were in Egypt, they weren't keeping it all the days of their life, so it's not reaching back to the day they were born. Okay, and then here we go again. Do not eat leavened bread. Okay, but Passover didn't begin. All right, all the days of their life. Well, see, they were already in Egypt. Remember the Passover from now on, all the days of your life. You see, the same expression. All right, Deuteronomy 17, same thing. He shall read it all the days of his life. Okay, obviously the first generation getting the law, they didn't read it all the days of their life. They're supposed to read it all the days of their life from the point that they get it. So Adam, from all the days of his life from the point he sinned, all right, it begins to be numbered at a point. It begins to be all the days of your life at a point. And you have to read the context to know what point. Okay, the point in Genesis 3:17 is the point he's naming the judgment. After Adam sinned. Cursed is the ground because of you. It's in the left window again. In toil you will eat it all the days of your life. Well, he's not eating it all the days of his life. He had lived before the curse was pronounced. All right? So it's a beginning. It's a beginning. From this point forward, all the days of your life. Adam lived in Genesis 5:5 from a beginning. This is the beginning in Genesis 3:17. Well, actually 22, but they're all happening in the same day. All right, so now we come back here. All right, that was the law verse in Deuteronomy 17:19. Now we're at Joshua 1:15. No man will be able to stand before you all the days of your life. No man will be able. All right, that's all the days of your life from the point that the thing is said. This is, explaining, God's going to be with Joshua, promising to be with Joshua. But it's all the days of his life from that moment. It's a divine pronouncement from that moment forward. Okay? Joshua 4:14. I'm going to go through these quickly now because it's so obvious. All right? They revered Joshua all the days of they revered Moses all the days of his life. All right? All the days of his life. But it wasn't really all the days of his life since his birth, because he doesn't even go to Israel until he's 80. You see the expression? It's all the days from his life from a beginning point that isn't necessarily birth. So you have to know the beginning point. And, that's all Bishop Usher did wrong, is that he forgot about the beginning point. All right? Then here's one that goes with birth. Give your maidservant a son. This is Hannah praying. Give your maidservant a son, and I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life. All right? She's dedicating him. That's the Nazirite vows. 17, Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life. Now there, you're also not talking about from birth. The boy wasn't judged. Samuel didn't become a judge until he was an adult. All right? So you see, you have to know the beginning reference point. Okay, and then here's Solomon. All right, they served Solomon all the days of his life. Well, here we go again. They couldn't serve Solomon all the days of Solomon's life. It depends on when Solomon began to be a ruler. All right, now I'm going to go through the rest of these. Okay, I will make him a ruler all the days of his life. Well, but it isn't all the days of his life. It's all the days from the time of his rulership forward. So all the days of his life has a beginning point. You have to know what that is. All right? David did everything the Lord commanded him all the days of his life. Well, we know that's not true. All right? Except in the case of Uriah the Hittite. Yeah, but David didn't know. He wasn't appointed all the days of his life. What about the time between age 0 and 7? So it's not talking about from birth. Again, in fact, most of these are not talking about from the point of birth. So all the days of your life, Bishop Usher, of course, he didn't have a computer to prove it as easily as I do. But he should have clued in, well, wait a minute, this expression, all the days of your life, doesn't begin at birth. It begins at a beginning, but it isn't necessarily birth. In fact, all of these uses so far don't begin at birth, except for Samuel's appointment. He's dedicated at birth to the temple. All right? Jehoiachin had his meals in the king's presence regularly all the days of his life. This is him in prison. This is the reason for the curse. He was put in prison when he was 18. He gets out in his 50s. So he didn't have a chance to have kids. So he had to adopt Shealtiel. And that's where Zerubbabel comes from. Okay, but it isn't all the days of his life because he was put into prison when he was 18. All right? So it's all the days of your life from X point. See, and that's another verse on Jehoiachin. Okay? All right, surely goodness. Now, here we go. Surely, that's Psalm 23:6. All the days of my life. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Now, that's something you could say is true from birth. But notice how it's an exception. And you even have to ask yourself, well, is it the birth or is it the rebirth? And you can really argue it's both because, if God selected you at birth, that's his goodness and loving kindness, else you'd not be alive. All right. Psalm 27:4, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. May dwell. Psalm 128:5 in English. Okay? Now that's obviously a hope from birth forward. But again, look at the exception that it is. Proverbs 31:12, she does him good and not evil all the days of her life. Okay, this is the woman, the wife, marrying the husband. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life from what point? From the time she marries him. She can't be doing him very good while she's a kid and not married to him. It's him that she's doing good to. All right, Ecclesiastes 9:9. Enjoy life with the woman you love all the days of your fleeting life. Okay, but he wasn't with the woman from his birth forward now, was he? See, sometimes you don't even need to be a Greek or Hebrew geek. You just need to put your thinking cap on. When you see an expression, you need to search on it in the Bible. And granted, Bishop Usher couldn't do that like I'm doing it here. It's taking me 5 minutes. But you know what? There are a lot of pastors out there who are taking his timeline, and they don't question this. They can buy the same software I got. This is software that is sold to pastors. Why aren't they doing that? I mean, I really have great respect for pastors, but when 99 out of 100 of them are teaching a false doctrine, and you can obviously prove it in 5 minutes that it's got another meaning than the one being taught, then we don't have any excuse, at least in this generation. You can excuse the people of the past, but we don't have an excuse. So what do we know from this? Okay, this is Jehoiachin again. All right. What we know from this is as follows. It's really pretty simple. We are taught things by teachers who are following past teachers. They are not doing their own research again, and you can cut them some slack for even that, because the worst job on the planet is a pastor, and all the Christians are constantly going to the pastor, what about this? What about that? I mean, the pastor's constantly being tugged at, so he doesn't really have any time to research. All right, but this is something that can be done, and you saw it be done in just a few minutes to buttress the point that Adam, in Genesis 5, when it says in Genesis 5, and we'll go there now, might as well. When it says in Genesis 5, oh, my mouse is stuck. When it says in Genesis 5, which will begin in the next lesson, that Adam lived, okay, all the days that Adam lived from what point? All the days of his life were Genesis 3:22. All right? So, I mean, this is a search that we should be alerted to because of the Tohu Wabohu verses. All right? We should be alerted to this. But we're not. And we're not because we're not doing our homework. All right, there you go. You got here we go, all the days of your life. And all the days that Adam lived. They tie together. Okay? We're not doing our homework. We're just spouting off lessons that were given in error by a whole lot of teachers for a whole lot of years. And we're trusting in them rather than in the Word of God. So what it shows is that we don't care about the Word of God. In this generation, we have no excuse. You can cut some slack for those who didn't have computers. Not very much slack, because for 2,000 years we should have known this. For 2,000 years we should have known God did not create a wasteland in Genesis 1:2. He even says so. That's bald. Okay, and we should have known that all the days of your life begin at the fall. Okay, we didn't. But in this generation, there's no excuse for not knowing that. I just proved it in, what? I mean, all these tapes together, just a couple of hours. So, that's that. I rest my case, and now we're going to go to Genesis 5. Now we're getting into the home stretch. This is Genesis 5 on screen. It's in the New American Standard Version. You can really pick any version you want. Most of them are translated the same way. Now, you're going to find this is very, very, very interesting. Alright? We're going to start with Adam. First of all, you'll notice that we already had in Genesis 4 Cain. Cain was the firstborn, but Cain wanted his vegetables to count. That's another version of fig leaves. And so Cain didn't believe in God. There's a mistranslation here. It isn't sin is crouching at the door. That's the sin bearer. I should put that up. Okay. The pastor spent a lot of time on this too. Okay. The word that's translated here, and see, Strong's never gives you any information of any value, but at least it notes that chata, because chet means sin. Chata means sin offering, except that's the meaning here. Okay, and here it is. Wait a minute, I'm getting it mixed up. Yeah, here it is, sorry. Alright, chata. And those are the versions of it. The verb is to miss, usually translated transgression, but it means you miss the mark. That ties to Romans 3:23. Sin is more than what we shallowly think of as sin. Oh, you do drugs or you have sex, that's sin. As if there were no other kind. Everything is a sin practically. Alright? Okay, but het is sin, hata is sinners, and then you see the other names. Okay, at the very bottom, hatat. Oh, let me do that. Sin offering, sin bearer. This is talking about Christ, and it's not crouching. All right, let me see show you what rabbats, right here. Okay, lying down, not crouching. Okay, if you think it means sin, you're going to use some nasty word like crouching. This is talking about Christ. The sin bearer is right outside the door. Remember, I am the door. And then remember also, of course he's talking to believers there, when he talks to the Laodiceans, I stand at the door and knock. He's talking to believers, so that Revelation passage is not about salvation. But this is, okay, the sin bearer, because Abel was already sacrificing. You know, the Lamb of God was already known since Abel. Is right outside your door of your volition. Open. Say yes. All right? And it's his desire for you, the desire, longing. All right? So, the Lord loves you, the Lord longs for you. This is mirrored by epipotheo in James 4:5. Wants you. He's reminding him, I still love you. Okay? I'm here. Believe in me. Enough of that. It's just a side trip. Okay, now we go back to Genesis 5. When Adam had lived 130 years, so all the days that Adam lived, this is after the fall, because Adam didn't have any days numbered until after the fall. Remember, we just saw that in Genesis 3:22. All the days of your life. There were no days numbered before then. The day you eat of it, you die. That's what began the countdown. So all the days that Adam lived, and what you have to know is that this is post-fall, were 930 years, and then he died. Okay? Now, we're going to look at that, because that's going to be really important. The wording is not the same for other people. They translate it the same, which is kind of sad. Alright? Genomai, what became all. What became. Genomai. All the days of Adam which he lived, was from Zao, and then there's the number 930. Now somebody screwed around with the LXX here. They were trying to mimic the Babylonian king's lifetimes, because the Babylonian king lifetime was a corruption of Genesis 5. See, because the word was known even then. So this is about the only way it's correct here, but it gets screwed around with on who had what at what age, and I'm not going to bother with that. It's really funny because the guy was adding 100 and subtracting 100, and he was trying to balance at this point at the end, and he finally gave up. It's hysterical. I'll go through that maybe someday, but not right now. Okay. Haya, translated by Egenonto. Alright? Now, let's do Seth. Kai Egenonto Pase Tehemrai. Alright. Eheyi Kol Imi Set. The Seth. The Seth means appointed. Okay, that's pointed to appointed. That's hysterical. Alright. And there's Shana for years. And that's for 900 years. And there's our friend Mut again. Okay, so now let's go back to Adam. Oops. Okay. He blessed them. If you're blessing them, there's no counting of the days because there's no death. When Adam lived 130 years after the fall, because there's no fathering before the fall. Alright? Seth means appointed. Appointed number of days, appointment of Messiah. Then we come, same language, call, Imi, Adam. See, it's not quite the same wording. Let me pull up. All right, here's the one for Seth in the lower window. Okay? It tracks to Adam's word here, here, here. Okay? But here, well, that's Seth. Shanaim. But, oh God, I'm not doing this right. Adam, Asher, which, he, is really, it's a relative pronoun. Oops, I can't show that. Okay, in which he has life. Cal perfect. Alright. Where do you see that used here? Where is the equivalent to this? Do you see any? In Genesis 5:8? Where is it? In other words, these are the days of his life after. But these are all the days. See, kol means all which tracks there. There we go. Alright, but with Adam, it's not the same. In which he lived. Alright, in which he lived after the fall. That's not the same as saying all of his days. This is all of his days. All the days of Seth. Alright? All of them. But it's not saying all the days of Adam. All the days that Adam lived after the fall. And then you get into the 900 blah blah blah. So this is not the same wording as here. You see that? It's not the same. And notice, all the days, I can get rid of all the days of Seth. But it's not all the days of Adam. All the days that Adam lived since when? Since the fall. Alright? This is all the days of Seth, but it's not all the days of Adam. And then Enosh lived all the days of Enosh. All the days of Kenan. All the days of Machalel. All the days of Jared. You see the difference? I rest my case. Next time we're going to talk about what this timeline really means.